So a story that takes place in the near future where Japan itself collapses pretty much reverts back to a Meiji era of society, back to warring periods, following our main character who's a strategist, tactician, guy that is like super smart and uses his talent to get through situations. I'm on board. I'm on board. Yes, Nippon Sangoku is finally here. And my gosh, I was really excited for this show. Now, I had some pause. To my excitement. It was really around the fact that, yes, I looked at the PVs and I didn't like how it looked. I thought that artistically and directing-wise and visually, it had a lot of really great choices to it. I thought it looked fantastic. It was just the character designs. I didn't like the character designs. It's like they're going for a very realistic look, but it's not. And then you have like very cartoonish looking villain characters with like distorted faces, and it grosses me out. But I knew that potentially as I watched it, I would get used to it. And thankfully after 2 episodes, I'm pretty used to it. Like, I'm on board with it visually. It's fine. Again, it's really artistically beautiful. It's very artistically beautiful. But yes, the other thing that had a little bit of pause on it for, honestly, was the fact that, yes, you know, covering pretty much like a warring period once again, you're going to have a lot of family names and whatnot. It's very like feudal Japan, but like, you know, a little bit before that because, again, Meiji era. It's very feudal Japan-ish, and so you have a lot of family names, you know, emperors and all this kind of stuff, a lot of political intrigue and stuff. It's hard to make that really interesting. But so far, a lot of that is doing very well with the show so far. So, yes, let's just jump into my thoughts on the first 2 episodes. First things first, what is it about? To give a simple idea of this, again, like I said before, it's about, you know, the near future, which I really do like. The near future where society itself has collapsed. It's like worldwide. Like, there's nuclear wars happening. Japan itself is involved, but it gets quickly, you know, beat down. And then you have a lot of refugees are flowing into Japan. Like, the economy collapses. A lot of these big corporations are taking all the money. Society itself collapses to the point where Japan turns into warring periods where there's like 3 different nations. Well, within one of those nations, we have our main character, which is Misumi. Now, Misumi just wants to live a peaceful life. He grew up looking into books. He's learned pretty much everything there is to learn about the Japan era, which again is pre-collapse society. He knows a lot about Japan itself, a lot of like past wars and everything, which is why I think it was really great and that he could possibly use those talents, you know, in mapping and, you know, all of his knowledge of history to help reunite the nation itself. But he's like, no. I'm just going to be an agricultural officer. I just want to take care of you. I just want to live a peaceful life. Well, unfortunately, his peaceful life comes to an end because Saki, his wife, is the type that likes to take action, is quick to anger, and doesn't listen to reason. And yes, she doesn't like to see injustice. Nobody likes to see injustice, but, you know, seeing how individuals that are running the area sort of exploit their power and exploit the people around them, she doesn't like seeing it. So you have this whole situation where, yes, this, you know, Denki Taira is this guy that ends up executing somebody because he tripped over a potato that he stepped on. She doesn't like it, but, you know, Misumi stops her and says, look, you can't do anything like that. You're gonna get us in trouble. Later on, she ends up seeing a tax collector who's just beating some random person and taking all of his money. She finally takes action. And this leads to her being unfortunately executed. And upon seeing this, Mitsumi is obviously enraged. Like, he just lost his beloved wife, but he knows that if he just takes action, could potentially kill the person that she didn't like, you know, this person that was causing the injustice, but they're just going to get replaced by somebody else that's horrible. So, remembering the words of his wife and how she wanted him to change the world, you know, reunite Japan, he decides to use his wits instead. He decides to get revenge using his wits and then go and become one of the members of Ryuman, which is this very well-known general, become part of his crew, help reunite Japan, and hopefully get rid of all the injustices in Japan. So he goes off to join Ryuman, and during his travels over there, he ends up meeting Asune, who is this individual who's a part of the Asama clan, and apparently this individual wishes to reunify Japan as well. Thinks that he's hot stuff. And the two of them go off together to do the trial in order to become one of Ryuman's men. And that's pretty much the gist so far of Nippon Sangoku. Like I said before, I love the setting already. I love, like, near future storylines, not like way into the future where things are like, you know, space travel and time travel and crazy science fiction. I like when it's just far enough that my brain, my little small brain can go, I totally see this happening. Like, I can see this, unfortunately for this story, I can see this happening in legit like a year. Like, just things go to, and just collapses happen, and this is what society does. And I like that the sort of direction they went with this is sort of a little bit of a regression. Like, society itself goes, you know, we're going to go back to this point. We're going to go back to here because we can have, like, a stability here. And, of course, it has a lot of, like, you know, the outfits and stuff like that, and the theme and everything sort of shifts as well, going to the Meiji era of Japan. Like, this this point where it's about like late 1800s, early 1900s, that period of time of Japan. It's like the Industrial Revolution has happened, but we're like post-feudal Japan. And so it's got this nice aesthetic to it. And society itself is, again, going to clans and family names and all that kind of stuff that is sort of, heading each location. So you have emperors again, and society itself is run by those emperors. And yes, individuals are exploiting their family names. They're exploiting their connections to the emperor, all that kind of stuff. And to kind of support that setting and this really nice setup here is, of course, a really phenomenal main character. I like Misumi's character already, which is a really good thing. Having a really solid main character, I think, is really fitting for something like this. Misumi's character is somebody that is overly calculative. He's somebody that overthinks things, but for a good reason. Like, it's not like he's divulging useless information. It's not like he's pretentious. I guess the best way to put it. He's not a pretentious character. He's somebody that gets to the point. He points out things that you yourself know, and then he says, here's the important facts and why what you're doing is wrong. The first situation, which I think is like the big selling point of this show, is the first episode. The final scene of the first episode was like, yeah, if they can keep pulling this off, I'm good. I will love this show if they keep doing this. With the first episode, they of course have the execution of Saki. When Misumi comes out there, he's of course really upset, but then he goes, no, stop myself. He says specifically, unity of knowledge and action. And the idea here is to utilize what you have in your brain, what your knowledge is, and turn that in action. And so instead of getting enraged and running up there, grabbing somebody's sword, possibly killing the person, getting revenge, all that kind of stuff, and then later on somebody will come and replace them, no, I need to fix the situation. So he still takes action, he still gets his revenge, but he does it in a way that doesn't involve him implicating himself. What he does is go, okay, Denki Taira, what are the charges that were put upon my wife? She's already dead at this point. But he's like, what were the charges? Oh, well, she offended me. Okay, can you explain that further details? Okay, well, she called me a fatso, and then she got in the way of tax collecting. And he's like, well, sir, I agree. She did, in fact, get in the way of the tax collecting. But I assure you that she didn't call you a fatso. And he's like, well, explain. What do you mean by that? She definitely called me a fatso. Well, tax collector, what exactly did she say to you? Well, she said, is at the orders of the fat guy. So what you're saying is that you assumed she was talking about him, thus you are implying that he is fat. And so it's a way of getting back at this guy, getting him executed, and, removing those charges. He knew that his wife was talking about the guy and calling him fatso, but she never said his name. So he gets his revenge by applying all the knowledge that he got earlier and applying the facts to getting his revenge. It's genius. It's genius. And they do this again in the second episode when he meets Sune, and Sune makes all these claims and calls for Misumi to join him. He eventually stops him by saying, no, you got a lot of things wrong. Let me run you through all these things that you got wrong. And it's just different things, like he claimed that Japan society back in the day used to use very clever words and foreign words in order to sound very smart. And he's like, no, actually people really hated that. Like he's laying out all the actual facts in order to refute this individual and to claim the upper hand. He's very smart, he's very calculative, and he spits out a lot of facts that ultimately in the end serve a purpose. And they're doing really well with his character so far, and I'm really liking him. Sune, on the other hand, I'm not a big fan so far. His introduction was that Misumi is going to this trial. He ends up bumping into Sune. Sune basically just steps up and says, I am the hottest ever. Basically, his family's well in with the main clan, so he thinks that he's something special, and that he's like, I'm going to rise up, I'm going to unify Japan, and I'm going to become the best thing ever. You might as well become one of my subordinates. Like, he's just going around, exerting his authority just to claim people under him so that he can, have henchmen. And Mitsumi's not having that. Mitsumi just basically says, no, not going to happen. And I'm not going to follow you. You've gotten all these things wrong. Here's a list of all the things that you've done wrong, doing what Mitsumi does. You've done all these things wrong. You were wrong here. But it does seem like Mitsumi is still keeping with Sune, so I'm assuming that he just sees a talent there. He's somebody that is obviously wrong about things, but he has a talent. He's a very skilled swordsman, all this kind of stuff. So it does seem like, based on what Misumi himself says, honestly, he wants to use him. There's a point which Misumi sort of lays out that, you claim that, sucking up to people is something you would never do because of pride. And I would never do that. If I can see that it'll serve the wishes of my wife, I'll do it. If I have to kiss ass, basically, I'll do it. If I need to grovel to somebody and it'll get me power, I'm gonna do it. I don't care about my pride. I don't care about what people think about me. If groveling to him is gonna make him kill somebody for me, I'll do it. Like, Misumi, again, is somebody that thinks logically. He's not thinking about pride. Sune, of course, is going to be thinking about pride because his family is apparently special. He's very full of himself. We'll see if Sune ends up kind of grabbing me later on. So far right now, he's kind of turning into a comedic relief to Misumi because Misumi is a very, again, calculative person that always thinking about his next step. Whereas Sune is very much in the now person, very full of himself, constantly thinking, what am I going to do to this person to gain the advantage? Ryuman, so far, very interested in. I'm very interested in him. They show Ryuman as being this very talented general that, again, Misumi is willing to work under. Ryuman is somebody that is the general of the Borderlands, and everybody really respects him. It seems like his little band of men is very, very cherry-picked. Like, he is very strict on who actually joins them. And so, obviously, Misumi and Sune are going to have to impress him a lot in order to join. But yeah, they show very briefly him taking over this entire army by they climbed up the side of this bridge and then attacked the generals from behind and before pretty much offering everybody like free territory and whatnot in order to turncoat, and even allows to pardon his own men that turncoat on him. He seems very talented in sort of just giving people what they want, really, and being very talented about tactics and whatnot, which again sort of works for him bringing in Misumi. But the first trial they have is where he basically just tells this group of people, hey, make my knee touch the ground. And so everybody's trying to just bend him down, everything. Sune is just going to cut his leg off. We'll see how that turns out. I'm assuming that Sune is going to get stopped. And then potentially Misumi is going to have to trick him into doing it. He only has like 4 minutes left, so we'll see. But he seems like a cool guy so far. He just seems like this big tough guy that knows what he's doing. He's very talented. But yeah, so far it's a really good cast. Again, besides my hesitation around Sune, which gets me into sort of like my gray area of this show so far. Again, I've already mentioned before, visually, I've gotten used to it. I think directing wise and artistically wise, it's a beautiful show. It's a very, 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 very beautiful show. I'm just not a fan of the character designs. Again, a lot of that has to do with especially where it's trying to be realistic, but at the same time also being cartoonish. I'm very mixed on the humor. I will say that. I'm very mixed on the humor. It's very Golden Kamuy. Golden Kamuy is very similar to this show where it's got like that almost like very adult humor. The characters themselves are very expressive. It's very variety show. It's very Japan variety show where you have the characters have the goofy expressions and they are like overly expressive and goofy. That's this show. The thing that makes me hate it though is because it's all the villains. They keep it, I mean, yes, Sune at times has the kind of inner expressions like, what the heck? Why is this guy doing this? And he has like a little bit of a shock face. But for the most part, a lot of the comedic value the show's giving is the villain characters being dorky. And I don't like that. I really don't like that, especially since a lot of it involves very effed up things. Individuals that are doing horrific things to people, and then it has these characters be overly comedically evil. It just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not a massive fan of that whole thing. Granted, hopefully, and this won't occur again, granted one of them is gone, so hopefully now that individual's gone, we can stop doing that too much. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We did get technically rid of one of these little jester-looking characters. We'll see in the future if they all don't do this. That aside, though, I'm not hating the humor. There's a lot of good humor in here that does kind of, again, offset a lot of the very serious moments. It gives character to them. Misumi himself, I think especially, his humor works for him. It's a lot to do with the fact that he overthinks things, presents things in very matter of fact, and it really does throw people off. I think that stuff works very well. So it's not that the humor in general 100% doesn't work for me. It's just sometimes it doesn't. But anyways, that overall, I'm loving the show. I am really, really looking forward to more of this. I hope that it keeps this level. I think for sure episode 1 is like phenomenal. Like, it was really well presented. It has a really fantastic end to it. I will admit that I'm not sure if we'll ever get to that high level again, but I'm really hoping that we do. I think the way that Misumi shot down Sune is kind of an example of how they can keep doing this. And if they keep doing that, I'm all on board. I think it's going to be a fantastic series, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. So that is my thoughts, my yap fest of Nippon Sangoku. I hope you guys enjoy this video as always. Hope you found it informative. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content, become a member. Until next time, y'all take care.